Hi, everybody. Thank you for joining us tonight on our live interview series. Tonight, I am lucky enough to be chatting with Coach Julie. Julie Mayhew works in our ADP program, in our girls program. Julie is a longtime athlete and is a huge part of helping OSC empower girls in sports and keep females engaged in sports. So really excited to chat about that. So hi, Julie. Thanks for joining us tonight.
Hi, thanks so much for having me. I'm really excited to chat with you and for everybody else to get to know me a little bit more.
Yeah, no, we're really pumped that you came on. Julie's been doing some of our live sessions. If you've been able to tune into some of her ball mastery work, she's done some of the beginner intermediate workshops. If you haven't checked them out yet, check out our Facebook Live video page. They're all saved on there. They're super fun, super awesome, half an hour, great workout, great way to get your feet moving and get some activity in for the day. So be sure to check that out. So Julie's around the club a lot, and you may or may not have seen her. She did a cameo in our Ultimate House League video this year too that we circulated on social media, but you may not know Julie that well. So Julie, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, a little bit about your sports career, so we can get to know you a little bit.
Awesome. Okay, so first of all, thank you so much for having me again. I'm really excited. I played soccer my entire life, so I have played on the provincial level side. I also played D1 NCAA, where I played at Eastern Michigan University. And then I also transferred over to Wilfrid Laurier University, where I played in the U Sports Conference. And I played there for 4 years. So I have played that was my highest level, and we're extremely successful in the U Sports kind of conference. We went to nationals, which is a top 8 in the country, 3 out of my 4 years of being at Laurier, which was really exciting. We were also crowned OUA champions, which is a top team in the province, one of the years. So that was really, really great. And overall, like, soccer really made me into the person I am today. And most recently, I transitioned into coaching. I never really thought of myself I always thought of myself as the athlete, and never really thought of myself as, hey, maybe I could be a coach in the future. Now transitioning, it's been about a year now, and now transitioning more on the coaching side, I now appreciate how much my coaches invested, just like thinking about the time that they invested, to, the planning, to, XYZ, everything under the responsibilities of a coach. And also realizing that I've never actually had a female coach. I've had a female trainer, which was of course great. But looking back, I've never had a female coach, which was actually really crazy. And now coaching with female girls, first starting in the Ultimate House League, where we first met. So that was pretty cool.
That was where we came together.
I was like, totally. So that was really cool. And then transitioning more on now I currently coach the U8 girls ADP program, and hopefully we'll move forward with next year. So hopefully everything goes to plan. But honestly, getting back into the soccer community and everything that comes with it, I was missing that. After leaving university, I felt there's a big transition. And I know many of the girls can attest to that.
Yeah,
and being connected again with the soccer community just feels really, really good. And just like giving back and everything. So I'm excited to kind of see where it takes me. I hopefully will get my C license and kind of move up and see where it takes me. So that's kind of where my journey's at.
That's awesome. That's quite the extensive journey. Lots of really cool experiences to pull from, and lots of really cool stories in there, I'm sure. Hopefully we can touch on a few. You said you talked a little bit about the transition from player to coach and how that was so different. What made you decide to take the leap? How did you get into coaching?
Okay, so one of my best friends who so Chelsea Spencer, she's
Chelsea. Shout out to Chelsea.
If you're on, give a little hi person.
Yeah, give us a wave.
Yay. We're really close, and we met through soccer, through a women's team, at least a few years ago now. And anyways, long story short, I reached out to her randomly, and we weren't close at that point, but I was saying, hey, I really want to get back to giving volunteering, getting back to the community. And she essentially was like, hey, like, yeah, let's connect. Like, we sat down for coffee, and that's how we initially kicked off our friendship. And then it wasn't until last year that she said, hey, I'm looking for some coaches. Obviously like, I trust your ability, you know how to play soccer. Let's, try this out. And I've always wanted to. And she's like, it's not a huge commitment. It's like one time a week. If you want to be a part of it more, you can. But I was so concerned with, I've never dealt with kids before, number one. I don't know if you've ever felt that way. I've never had younger siblings. I've never had younger like nieces or anything like that. So I felt very out of my element in that sense. And then number two is being that mentor, like figure in a sense. I don't know. Felt a little uncomfortable to me, and finding that voice, it took a little bit. So having that Ultimate House League initially to transition initially before I took on a team was, oh my God, was the perfect transition. Yeah. So learned a lot about myself. I'm still learning every single day, so I'm never going to stop learning. But it honestly, it was through Chelsea. So I go Chelsea.
Go Chelsea. Well,
So
thank you, Chelsea, for bringing Julie to us. And it's been a short time, but you've been very impactful at the club, and you've obviously moved from a different, like, through programs and had different experiences. And obviously that's been a huge learning experience for you, like you said, and really interesting how, you were ingratiated in the sport, but didn't have the experience as a coach. And now going through those steps, you've like grown so much already and are so well loved and adored by your team, and have great integration with them and your co-coaches and at the club. So it's been, it's cool to see that journey and to be able to watch that. And even though you say it's still pretty new and you didn't have experience necessarily with younger kids or players, like, you really embrace that role really quickly, and you very quickly become a really, really strong female role model at the club. And that's been really great for our young female athletes that you work with, especially starting in Ultimate House League and then moving over to ADP. So why is keeping females in sport something that you're really passionate about, other than being a female athlete? Why is it important for the future and sort of as things go forward for these young girls?
For me, as I mentioned, it's really made me into I know it sounds super cliche, but it's honestly really made me into the person I am today. Hands down, I've learned everything from how to get confident, to how to be in certain social situations, to getting constructive criticism. Honestly, and so many of the girls can attest to this, the amount of criticism day in and day out that you get off the whim, it really allows you to kind of build a little bit of a skin, so that when you go in jobs or anything like that day to day, you take it and you say, okay, how can I learn from this? And then be able to apply it right away on the field is awesome. So I feel like it really builds you into the person that you are. You learn so many amazing soft skills, and also just be like athletic, being able to move your body as a young kid, and like, how do I move my feet? And honestly, working with 7 and 8 year olds, they're just getting into the sport. And it's really interesting because coming into that, I was working at such a high level as like, okay, we're going to talk about strategy. We're going to talk about, you know what I mean? And the first day somebody was like, I was like, okay, girls, we're going to pass. And they're like, what's passing? You know what I mean? Like, what is it? So I had to break it down. And then it's also, I talked to Chelsea about this, but it's a matter of like, how are you using your language and how to break things down in the most concise way. And I don't know, it's just like, you're constantly learning constantly. And it's, but yeah, I would definitely like, it's amazing. Yeah, I made my point. I'm moving on. Yeah.
But it's a good point. I think that when we talk about sports and we talk about being healthy and physically healthy and stuff like that, but also being really mentally healthy and mentally strong and mentally agile, and sports has a lot to do with that for males and females, of course. But it's so many, like you said, soft skills and things that we take with us and use in other areas of our life off of the field, as a coach, as a player, and being able to learn from your players just makes it probably such a cool experience for you to be able to sort of get some perspective on a sport you've been involved with for so long. We do have a question. Yara, who is one of our U9 ADP players, asked, why did you want to play soccer in the first place?
Oh my gosh. Oh,
Get back. Get back.
I know. I was like, what was my first initial thing? Honestly, when I first started, I was so young, and I'm pretty sure my dad, soccer wasn't his thing, but he was a coach, and I just remember being super young and like dancing and doing cartwheels while I was like playing goalie and, picking grass and doing all that stuff when you're like super, super tiny.
Yeah.
And then I just kind of transitioned to like the U8 or U9 rep or all-star or whatever it was at that time. My parents were like, hey, there's this tryout, do you want to go? And I just was like, yeah,
Yep.
let's
Why not?
I never really thought about it. Honestly, I think I liked being at the top level. Like it was something that obviously my parents were like, hey, you're decent at this. Like, you want to go try out? And I was like, yeah, let's do it. And I felt that way about a lot of sports that I was in. Like, if I'm going to be a part of this, I'm going to try the hardest I possibly can and try to get to the highest level I possibly can. I never really thought about this. I just always kind of like, this is what I want. I don't know. It made me feel happy and confident. I don't know.
Obviously, sports was a big part of your life, right? Like you built a lot of yourself on the back of those things. So I guess it was the building confidence and sort of figuring out, what you wanted to do and where that could take you. So that's really cool. Sometimes you don't have to get into things with intention. You just roll the dice and see what happens. My parents did not encourage me to try out for a higher level. They were like, you are very bad at this sport. You cannot play anymore. And that was my soccer career in the beginning. So I stuck to recreational. Thanks for your question, Yara. If anybody else has questions, drop them in. I did see Chelsea tuned in, so I don't know if she made it in time for our Chelsea appreciation shout out, but you'll have to go back in the video and check that out later. What is the hardest part about coaching?
Okay. So automatically I'm thinking I haven't done a season yet with the girls because they're U8. They don't have a winter like season with games. So I feel like I've gotten lucky till this point. I haven't dealt with any issues game-wise, playing time, anything like that. So I can't really speak to that. But when it comes to now, I think it's just the girls have been honestly amazing. The group of parents that I've had have been super, super great. A lot of them have volunteered to help me out in many ways, whether it's like coaching or anything like that. But difficult part for me, I really enjoy it, but I guess essentially it's just like the administrative tasks at this point, or like when people have a couple of issues, but I haven't had like major issues with like parents or anybody like criticizing me. I feel like people have been really nice and like overly nice to the point where they're like, you're doing, like, maybe they know that it's, it's our first year. They know that maybe we're nervous or want to do a great job. So maybe they're being like, you're doing great, keep it up.
Good though, that's a positive. That's a positive thing. Not to say that there won't be rough times. I'm sure there will be, but to start on a positive note, I don't think that there's anything wrong with that, to not, have to have a major challenge off the bat. And administrative, like, that part always kind of stinks. So I think that's fair.
Exactly.
So even though your experience is still short, but really impactful, what is the part you love the most so far? Like, you gear up with these girls every week and hit the field before this situation. And I mean, that's the plan, is as soon as you can to probably hit the field with them again. I'm sure you can't wait. What's the best part?
I just like being on the field with the girls is the best part. And then also when you're with the team. So one thing that was difficult about the Ultimate House League was the fact that you had different groups of girls all the time. So you couldn't really keep one solid group of like 20 girls and seeing them progress throughout those like 2 or 3 months or whatever it was. So having the team that I'm with right now, honestly, there's so many, like, they're all stars, number one, but to see a lot of girls who might have been you know, potentially struggling with passing or just like movement or anything like that, to see them grow and say like, oh my God, you're killing it, girl. And then to see them just like burst in excitement and just like happiness because you're like, that, you know, keep it up, you're doing amazing, and like making a point of calling them out and celebrating all like those little wins that they're doing is like super, super good. I feel, yeah, that was really exciting. Yeah.
That's, I think, probably the best part of working with any age group, and can show how something like coaching can be such a rewarding thing. You know that you're making these kids days a lot of the time when you're being that supportive coach, and those are things they're going to remember. Especially you're in the sweet spot age group of coaching too, like right in that beginning, like that real learning place where they're going to pick up these skills of the game that they're going to use for the rest of their soccer careers. Like that's a really impactful time, but a really fun time, because learning those new things are happening, you know, rapidly, and you're picking that stuff up and they're really pumped about that. And having somebody be like, yes, go girl, you know, is going to be something they remember for a long time and what keeps them going. So that's awesome that that's the part that you love, because I think that's probably the part that your girls love, that coach with you. I know that you have a great group of girls who are really excited to be working with you in a really fun group. So that probably doesn't hurt. I have to laugh. Michelle Parado Shears weighed in about the administrative work and said that she definitely agrees that that part is,
She's like, that's my whole job.
like, yes, I know all about it. In your
That's
opinion, so I know your experience in coaching has been mostly with OSC, and what about OSC do you like? What sets us a little bit apart? What have you enjoyed about working with the club?
I really appreciate how, so I specifically will mostly work with Gareth. He is a grassroots
guy.
He's a grassroots manager. He keeps really connected with us, which is awesome. Even during this time, I just got off the phone with him, let's say about an hour ago, just kind of like checking in about a couple of things. But he, it seems like it's very well run, which is great. Even with our ADP coaches, I feel like they expect a little bit more than we just have a system of how we work. And especially being my first year, you know, I had to try to figure out so many things for my first time, of course, but now looking back onto it, even from the player evaluations to the sessions and having we have certain block times for like 4 weeks or whatever it is, and we have to submit our sessions prior to, so that he gives us feedback. You know, we have sessions with the coaches where he's going to give us like there's just constant learning and feedback. And honestly, one thing that really stood out to me as well was the coaches development, female mentorship development program.
Female
Sorry,
coach
I said that wrong.
mentorship program. Yep, that's close enough.
That
It's a lot of words for a title. Sure.
So it's with Mark Warden, and I haven't heard about that at any other club from other coaches. And I feel like the fact that they specifically have a goal of, let's say, like 6 female, they want them to get their C license by the end of the year, and that we're going to have shadowing. We're going to have, you know, like mentorship with different coaches at different levels. We're going to be able, like, all these different things is just like 2 thumbs up. You know what I mean? I haven't seen something like that. And it's just really exciting for somebody who's just starting out. And yeah, so I'm loving it. I'm loving it so far.
That's awesome. Glad to hear that. Always glad to hear when coaches feel supported and there's opportunities for coaches. So the female coach mentorship program, I chatted with Mark last week, our director of coach development. So if you actually jump back to Mark's video, you would learn a little bit more about that and how to get involved with what is a very, very cool program for providing females with the opportunity to get into coaching, learn how to do that, learn the fundamentals of it, and then have the opportunity to apply it in one of the programs at the club. So a great shout out to that program. Thanks for that, Julie. What advice would you give to another player that maybe was toying around with the idea of coaching and hadn't quite gotten into it yet? What could you give to a player thinking about becoming a coach? What advice would you have maybe for them?
it depends. So let's say it's a girl who's potentially in my position. Maybe she's in the Oakville, Burlington, Mississauga area, and has the accessibility to Oakville Soccer Club. I would 100% suggest to maybe look at just like how I did it, potentially in the Ultimate House League. It's not a huge commitment. You'll be able to go in a few hours a week. Let's say like on a Monday for 3 hours in a row. You get a little bit of money, which is always a bonus. And
doesn't hurt.
It doesn't hurt. And honestly, many times you do get paired up with somebody else. So if there's a little bit less pressure off, and it could be potentially somebody who has already done it. So they kind of know how it works and everything. And they already provide you with all the sessions as well. So you don't have to come up with any sessions. You know, initially that was also my issue is, okay, how do you guys do this? So there's, honestly, the least pressure possible. If you want to just like get a little taste of what it's all about, I definitely suggest that. You can coach girls only, you can go coach boys, you can coach both. So they're very open to that. And if you just want to like test it out, or even I would suggest to reach out to, if you do know a coach. For example, I reached out to Coach Chels. She does private coaching initially. So I was able to come out to a couple of her private coaching sessions and just get a feel for, I really loved for how she spoke to the girls, how she commanded respect, you know, in many of the sessions. So it was nice to know how she was speaking to them and what like verbiage she was using and everything. Cause it's just something you're not used to. And it's a different animal for sure. Yeah, so that was really cool. So I would suggest for sure, like shadowing. I know obviously the Oakville, we have that mentorship program, and being able to shadow a bunch of different coaches is super key, especially at different levels. So I currently only do the U8, but being able to be exposed to maybe the U21 reserve team, you know, for League One or anything under the map is really, really cool. So. Yeah,
it's a good opportunity to just link up and kind of dive right in. There are lots of tools and mechanisms in place to make new coaches successful in their role at OSC. If anybody is interested in getting into coaching or wants to learn more about it, feel free to drop us a message on any of our platforms. If anybody has any questions for Coach Julie, feel free to drop us a message. We're happy to relay them and link up for discussions later on in mentorship. Happy to help out in that way, but just go for it, right? Like, what do you have to lose? Can you imagine if you didn't? Then you wouldn't have got the joy of hanging out with me on a Tuesday night in the middle of quarantine, chatting about soccer.
Oh my gosh.
Who are some of your role models and some of your idols, favorite athletes and stuff growing up, or even now?
Oh, geez. I don't know. Honestly, I look up to a lot of the Canadian national players that we have right now. Obviously, it's Christine St. Clair and everybody under the mat, like Sophie Schmidt, Diana Matheson. I was so excited. I met Diana Matheson. We were on our way to a Blue Jays game, and she was literally walking by herself. She's probably meeting some friends at the Blue Jays game. And I said, Diana Matheson? And she turns around. I was like, oh my God, it's her. I'm like,
fangirl.
Yeah, I was like the biggest fangirl. And she's from Oakville as well. So she actually came to one of the Oakville Soccer Club like summer camps one year. And oh my God, it was so cool. I was so young, but being able to see her, and she was on the, you know, national team and everything like that. And she played Oakville, and to know that, wow, I could potentially be there as well. Was just kind of a cool, like when you see it, you believe, you know, a little bit more. So those are probably, to name a few, for sure.
That's awesome. And I couldn't have asked for, you know what, Julie and I didn't set this up, I'll preface it. Couldn't have asked for a better segue to mention that actually next Tuesday night, we're going to be doing a live interview with Diana Matheson. So
what?
Yes. Yeah, right. Everybody will think we staged this, but I swear we didn't. Julie had no idea. So yeah, we were lucky enough to connect with Diana, and she has been gracious enough to give us a little bit of her time next Tuesday night, 7 o'clock, Facebook Live. Diana is going to be taking your questions from all of our players and everyone watching. You'll be able to interact live with us on our feed. You can email your questions in advance. We're going to send out and post some information about that in the next couple of days. But yeah, we're super pumped to talk to Diana. She is an Oakville player, started her career at OSC, and has been a force in Canadian women's soccer and in the female game. So we are really excited to chat with her next week. So free your schedule, save the date.
That's actually hilarious.
Yeah,
Like,
that's
what
too
are
funny.
the
That worked out really good. Good job, Julie. Good choice of role model. That worked out perfectly for us.
That's actually so that's really cool. I saw her interview with One Soccer with Carmelina Moscato and a couple of the other ladies on. So every Wednesday they have a little power hour with the girls. But anyway, so she was being interviewed there. So I made sure to check in and everything. So it'll be really cool that she'll be on OSC. That's
yeah,
so cool.
we'll chat with her next week. So we'll post, again, information about that will be posted on all our social media channels and on the website. We'll get that up tomorrow and send out all that information. So plenty of time to get your questions ready and to get ready to go live with Diana and myself on Tuesday night. Is there anything else you want to add, or to the end of the comment? As Chelsea said, she tuned in a little bit late to the video, so she's just catching up. So she'll see there was lots of shout outs to her. A lot of people on. Oh, Yara has another quick question. In university, was it hard playing soccer and going to school at the same time?
Awesome question, Yara. Thank you for asking. So it was definitely, I would consider it difficult. You had to be studying, you had to manage your time. You couldn't just slack off and think that you could pass. Yeah. You had even game days. I'd be on my way to a game and would be reading my textbook or whatever homework I had to do. And a lot of players have to do that. If it means you have to get a tutor, if you have to do, a lot of times they have like supplementary lessons. If you have to go see your teacher, professor, like after hours, do it 110%, because I thought I was a smart girl. I thought I had hardworking, I thought I was a hard worker with studying and everything like that. Going to Laurier, it was a wake-up call, because I was in the business program there and I got a C+ in my first semester. And then in order to continue with being in the business program at Laurier, I had to at least get a B-. So Yara, I had to bust my buns in the second semester in order to get to stay into the program. And I got an A- in business in that semester. So I was able to stay consistent, but that meant I had to not do a lot of fun stuff, and I had to focus and get my stuff done. So try your best, and you can definitely do it as well if you stick to it.
It would be a balancing act, right? You've just got to find the balance when you're asked to be an elite athlete and pursue education at the same time. There's obviously a lot of expectations, and you do sacrifice some of the fun events and parties and stuff like that to make sure you're getting it done. But it's probably an experience that is totally worth it at the end of the day. So that's an excellent question, Yara. Really, really great. Thanks for sharing that. Mark also commented, way to go, Julie, future female coach mentorship program mentor coach in the making. So Mark is probably already emailing you right now about that. Is there anything else you want to add before we sign off for the night?
You already mentioned this, but definitely if you do have any questions, guys or girls, please feel free to reach out to the Oakville Soccer Club, and they'll definitely put you in contact with me. Yeah. I love talking to anybody and everybody, whether it means like advice, mentorship, strength conditioning, ideas, anything like that. So would love to chat with you guys. And yeah, I look forward to keep working with the Oakville Soccer Club. So thank you so much for having me.
My pleasure. And you can check out Julie on Instagram as well. What's your handle, Julie? @Julie.Mayhew. Is that what it is?
Oh, girl, you got it.
We've linked a few times. So we'll be sure to post that as well. And Julie's very interactive with our posts. Be sure to check us out on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. Keep your questions coming and join us for our upcoming live interviews. Like I said, next Tuesday, Diana Matheson. On our website, we post our live sessions every week. You can probably catch up with Julie in a live session in the not so distant future, some ball mastery work. Tomorrow night, we're on with Coach Derek, getting some fitness in, some physical literacy activities, and some pretty serious workouts that make me tired just watched. So be sure to tune in for those. Julie, thank you so much for taking the time. Always pleasure to hang with you and chat. Really appreciate it. That was really fun.
Thanks so much, Katrina. Bye,
My
guys.
pleasure. Thanks everyone for tuning in. Have a great night and we'll talk to you soon. Bye everyone.